Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 10, Phantom Apprentice. So we only had 2 more episodes to go. I'm very curious how these last 2 episodes are going to end up going. I was really shocked by the fact that Ahsoka and Maul actually had their fight in this episode. I thought for sure that was going to be like the end of it, because that was going to be like, the big fight, and then that would eventually lead to them kind of branching off. But I love this episode. This was better. This is better than the last one. The last one was amazing. This one was even better. For one, of course, it had a full-on lightsaber. It was Ahsoka versus Darth Maul. It was glorious. Just the fluidity of their movements was so freaking insane. Like, just watching them, I was like, this is different. I don't know. I would assume that that's mocap. I don't think they do mocap for this show, but that was too fluid. I was like, either they put, like, maybe that's why the season was so short, because they had to be like, we need to put like 3 episodes worth of budget into this fight sequence, or that was full on mocap, because that was way too fluid. I was like, these movements, like the way they were spinning and stuff, I was like, this has to be mocap, because it looked amazing. I probably should have checked that at the end. I was thinking about it, but I didn't think to actually do that for like the credits to see if they had like motion cap, because that would be awesome, because it would totally make sense, because like I said, it was just so fluid. I was like, they probably got Ray Park in there to be Darth Maul again for that fight sequence, because I'm like, it just looks so insanely good. But I love this whole episode. Like, the action was amazing. We got to see a Mandalorian hold up an elevator before it crushes her, like she burnt out her jetpack. I never even thought of that before, like a character, like a Mandalorian burning out their jetpack because it was, it was put in overdrive for too long. That was cool. That was just a great moment. Their fight sequence was great. All the story elements were good. I mentioned in the last episode, I thought this was like in between stuff that happened in episode 3, but that was technically the very beginning. So we find out in this episode they've officially gone through that first battle. Count Dooku is dead. Anakin did kill him. And I love the way it was handled. Like, everything that they talked about was like, okay, they're referencing what happened to Dooku. They talk about how Anakin has now been sent to, guard or, watch/protect the Chancellor. And I like how that played out. It was like, all right, we know what's going to happen on that end of things. But then everything that happened on our end of things, or, finally getting to see the other side after all these years, it was like, wow, this is really good. Like, we have Darth Maul, who we find out made the siege of Mandalore because he was trying to kill, really he was trying to kill Anakin, but he was trying to stop, the Chancellor. And I just, the way they went about it was just so well done. I was like, I can't believe this is how that's really playing out. Like, Darth Maul had this entire plan. It was literally like, I orchestrated this whole thing, not because I'm trying to, he would have taken over. I mean, let's face it, Ahsoka was in the same. It was actually Empire Strikes Back. That's exactly what it was. It was like, join me, or and we can take over. It was kind of the classic. And it was like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, join me and we can we can stop this person, and everything will be fine. And of course, with it being Darth Maul, anyone from the Sith side is like, well, you're just trying to take over, and like that's all you're really gonna do. And of course, the fact that it's Anakin, it was like, who's gonna believe that? Who would believe that in general? Even if it was someone random, it would be like, I don't really know this person, but, I'm supposed to believe a super secret, powerful Sith Lord has been in hiding this whole time, grooming his secret apprentice this whole time. Like, you expect anybody to believe that. And then the person that has to believe it specifically in this episode is basically one of the closest people to that person. And it's like, of course she's not going to believe that. Like, who would? So it's like, it totally makes sense why it went the way that it did. Because it's like, you're Darth Maul. You've controlled a whole planet. You're not trustworthy. You're not a trustworthy person. And I just love the way that was handled. I was like, this is so good. Like, Darth Maul orchestrates an entire war. He takes over the city and everything. And he goes towards Order 66. Like, he gets that from the clone, which I also thought was really cool. He was like, that was like the orchestrated plan. And like they at first it was very vague. And I was like, oh, he's referencing Order 66. Like, he knows there's a big plan. He didn't realize like it was Order 66. So I thought that was cool. Just in the very beginning, he was like, it seems like now it's happening. Or so, like, even in the very beginning of the episode, he's like, so they're busy. And it's like, I guess that means it must be starting. Like, he didn't know exactly what it was, but he knew what was going down. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. He's referencing the fact that it's happening. Like, he knows where he is. Basically, he knows where he is in history right now. So I thought that was really cool. And then just as they go about it, it becomes a bit more specific, where he's like, look, Ahsoka, I'm just going to tell you everything. Need to stop Anakin, because whoever Sidious is, I don't really know, but I know he's there. and then he's been secretly grooming this guy. Like I don't. It's just well, I guess technically he does know that he's the chancellor, but he didn't say that. That probably would have helped him like just a little bit. But even then, like I said, it wouldn't matter. Like Ahsoka wouldn't believe. Even when she was talking to Obi-Wan, it was like, well, why would they send him to spy on the chancellor? It's like he's been a great friend and mentor to him. It doesn't make sense. And of course, her time, with the Jedi Council and being ousted and stuff like that, or leaving because of like even Darth Maul said, it was like, well, yeah, you technically left, but you were pretty much pushed to do it because it was either get over it or, figure out what you want in life. So I love the way it was handled, them going through him talking about, the plans and everything and Anakin and being like, I just wanted to get him here. And he wanted to kill Obi-Wan, of course. But then, of course, it leads to the end fight scene. Absolutely amazing. I love the fact that he was like, you have Kenobi's arrogance. I thought that was pretty cool. And then Ahsoka's like, you'll find I have many qualities for you to dislike. So amazing action sequence. I thought it was over when she pushed him out the window, which was also a cool sequence because his lightsaber was still on and it just like he blows through the window and it splits the little pieces in the wall. So I thought that was visually just really cool. Then she tracks him down and then they have like a beam fight, which I thought was really cool. And I was like, well, how's this going to play out? And it was weird to watch it because I'm like, I know both of them live. I know neither of them get hurt or anything like that. I mean, I guess technically speaking, Darth Maul could have been chopped in half again because his bottom half is robotic, so he wouldn't have died from that. But I was like, even if that did happen, I know that they both live. What I didn't know or even remotely expect, then this kind of comes in line with the fact that I thought this fight would be like in the last episode. The fact that he actually gets captured, I was really surprised by that. I was like, oh, so this isn't really ending. I thought he would escape and then it would lead to, obviously they don't end up in episode 3, so I thought it would probably just lead to something else. Like they still technically have to fight this war on this planet. Like there are still people there, even though Saxon mentioned like, hey, we're losing and stuff. There's still technically people there, so they could still do 2 full episodes. But them capturing him makes me very curious as to what they're going to do for these next 2 episodes. How does he end up escaping? What is going to happen with the woman on the ship? I don't know her name. I don't know if she's ever shown up. I can't recall. Saxon, he did look familiar, but I can't remember. I would assume, once again, that's Clone Wars, so that's probably why I recognize both of them. Although that woman, as soon as I saw her, I was like, are they going to slightly be like, oh, that's Sabine's mom? Because she had, like, the same hairstyle, and it was just, it was dark blue. And I was like, that's weird. Like, that totally makes me think of Sabine. So I don't know if they're going to throw some more of those references out there. They did throw in the Solo reference, so that was pretty cool. Like, Maul told the leaders of the Syndicate to go into hiding, and they had Paul Bettany, I believe is his name. They had his character there, and, he goes off in the hologram. Or whatever the heck they... Yeah, I guess it would be hologram, technically. But I was like, okay, that's cool. They threw that in there, like, here's this character. But it was really good. It was such a good episode. Like, I have to rewatch the fight sequence. Just... It was genuinely the movements. Like, it was a great fight, but it was seriously, like, the way they moved, I don't think we've ever seen in Clone Wars before. And it's, tons of seasons. They've had some amazing fights for sure, but even going back or, like, thinking back to some of the stuff I have watched recently, which admittedly was mostly, like, all the Darth Maul fights, Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan and stuff, the way that it looked was just different. It wasn't that high fidelity, sort of content, and it was just really interesting. And Rebels... just the way it was really more their bodies that was super fluid. It was, because the lightsabers are always like flipping and bending, and they make it where because of that weird distorted image you get when something moves, it it looks like it's bending. So they did a lot of that in Rebels for sure, and they have some big fight sequences. But excuse me, this definitely felt like I said, I feel like it had to have been mocap. It just looked so fluid, so far beyond the other fights that we've seen in either Clone Wars or Rebels, considering that's more recent. And I was just like, the way they move, as soon as it happened, I was just like, this is different. It just felt different. So I absolutely love the fight scene. I'm very excited for these last 2 episodes. I have no idea what to expect because I'm like, all right, well, I can't make a lot of theories as far as what is or isn't going to happen because the only thing I know is that they aren't going to, well, I don't know. It would be weird if they got to Coruscant but couldn't do anything if it was too late. That would be interesting. I don't think that's going to happen, but who the F knows? They caught Darth Maul. Somehow he ends up escaping. I would assume that's because he has like, a last little rallying moment where a couple of troopers, come in and help him. But I just don't know. It's hard to have like a theory on where the heck they're headed now that he's been captured. I'm just like, well, what do you do next? Honestly, when that scene happened, it made me think of Force Unleashed 2. Not to spoil that one, although there won't be a 3, sadly. But at the end of Force Unleashed 2, in the canonical, I guess, the canonical ending, since there's not a third, it doesn't really matter, they actually capture Darth Vader. And it was the same thing where I was like, well, where can you possibly go from here? You've caught the bad guy. What can happen next? So I can't wait to see these last 2 episodes. It still sucks that it's the last 2 episodes. I don't think I even knew in the last one, but the final episode of Clone Wars will be coming out on May 4th, so Star Wars Day. So of course that's really awesome. So next week we'll get an episode Friday, and then we'll get an episode Monday, because I believe May 4th is on Monday. So that's amazing. That I cannot wait to see that happen. It's actually funny, now that we're doing the quarantine, it just popped into my head. I was actually supposed to do a Star Wars pub crawl next weekend. It was obviously canceled. But it was supposed to be a Star Wars pub crawl to celebrate Star Wars, and I was like, oh, that'll be awesome. I would love to do that. So sadly, that didn't happen. I have to check my email. I don't remember if they pushed it or if they totally canceled it. I think they rescheduled it, but I still want to go because it's Star Wars. So I was looking forward to that. It would have been great too, because it would have been a bunch of nerds being like, have you seen the new Clone Wars? I didn't even think of that at the time, that Clone Wars would actually be out during that time of the actual pub crawl. But I'm sure people would have been talking about it like, man, did you see the last episode? Like, the last episode comes out tomorrow. And it would have been really good. It would have been really, really fun to have like that little moment where you just talk with a bunch of people, and a bunch of people getting drunk and being nerds, and it's like, final episode of Clone Wars, in 2 days, because it was going to be Saturday, because even though the 4th is Monday, why do it on Sunday? That's a bad idea. So it was going to be on the 2nd, but that really sucks now. I didn't think of that at the time, but it really blows. Like, I wanted to do it in general, but it just really sucks now, because I'm like, dang, that would have been cool. People would have been talking about Clone Wars and stuff, and we would have all been like, what's going to happen in the final episode? It would have been insane. But at least we still have the show. So I'm definitely looking forward to the next 2 episodes. The last 2 of Clone Wars. Who knows where we're headed? One big thing that did happen, and I mentioned this in the last one, the weird stuff with Ahsoka having the blue lightsabers. I assume we're going to see her make her new lightsabers within the next 2 episodes, or she finds them, because that's the thing I'm curious about. I'm like, okay, that's like the one little weird inconsistency that they have, like the weird little plot hole for now. So they could do that within the next 2 episodes, but also if she got them, it would have to be a time skip. So that's not really out of the question or anything, but they'd have to do a time skip. I don't remember. I feel like her lightsabers are the exact same lightsabers, but I also mentioned before, I never once noticed that they were separate sizes, but apparently that was always the case. So I'm like, okay, I have no idea if that's the case in Rebels, if they're the exact same ones, but I think they are, because they have like the line kind of going up through the middle, so that's kind of what makes them so recognizable. So I believe they are. So that's still the weird thing where it's like, all right, how does this happen? Like, she's got the blue lightsabers. How do they go from blue to white? And they were supposed to be green. Like, I watched a YouTube video recently where they mentioned, like, in the comics, they've kind of screwed it up because they mentioned that she still had her green lightsabers. So it's like, what did happen with that? Like, it felt like they did that because blue just looks cool. I like blue. Blue is my favorite color, so I like it more. But I felt like that's like the one thing that they kind of messed up a little bit, because it's like, it still doesn't. You just switch the crystals to blue, and that's really it. And then she has to change them from blue to white. So maybe we'll see that. Maybe that's just the case. But even then, it still kind of screws up the weird stuff with the comic books, because it does take place in between the shows. So we'll see. We'll see what happens if they end up fixing that, and she just, like, she'd have to randomly find 2 green crystals, or I guess change them from blue to green, which I didn't know you could do that. The only thing I knew was like bleeding them from, or like you torture them. I mentioned before, I forget what does what, but I know bleeding them is probably turning them white, which you have to do. Typically, that's supposed to be from red to white. You bleed it and it becomes white. And if you basically torture a crystal, it turns red. So I doubt she would do that just to go to like white sabers, but that would be really interesting. And it would kind of fit a little bit, like with the element of doing bad but good, and being, just knowing the practice of the Jedi but not being a Jedi. So it would be an interesting thing, but I don't think she would do that just to like torture the crystals, because they do count as like living things. So I doubt she'd do that. So we'll see what happens. It might just be an issue, and it's just like, well, it was a little mistake, but we'll see. We got 2 more episodes to go. Of course, I would love to know what you guys thought about this one, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it. Of course, with them capturing Maul at the end, what's going to happen in these last 2 episodes? I would assume Ahsoka's probably going to get some more updates from Obi-Wan. And I'm really curious how that's going to play out. the one thing that I was curious about, like when Obi-Wan was talking to Ahsoka, when he's like, "Can I talk to her alone for a second?" I honestly was like, "Is he gonna say, like Anakin has kids? Like, is he gonna tell her that? And are we gonna find out like she's known this whole time that he's had children?" And Ahsoka was kind of like step two if Obi-Wan ever died or something weird like that. She was kind of step two to come back into the fold, but that didn't end up happening. So I don't know if that'll be revealed to her or if that's gonna just be kind of kept secret. But I am curious what's gonna happen, like how they're gonna explain this. Are we gonna get a time skip? Because of course we're going from this to obviously, the kind of the in between times and all the insanity there. So we got Rebels and at least the flashbacks of Mandalorian. If you guys have seen that, we're currently in that right now with the Siege of Mandalore. So it'll be interesting to see what they're gonna do in these next two episodes. But I would love to know your predictions, hopes, what you guys want to see, don't want to see, all that stuff. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.